Before discussing Isle of Dogs, I feel like it's worth mentioning that my moniker was created in 2009. The fool part comes from my then obsession with the video game Persona 4. The other was a reference to Fantastic Mr. Fox. The reason it is Fool Fantastic and not the other way around is a reference to the film's tagline, Dig the Life Fantastic. So what I'm saying is I might be a bit biased toward this film. To quickly summarize the plot, Isle of Dogs tells the story of a near-future Japan that has quarantined all dogs onto an island of garbage. The central plot follows a group of dogs helping a young boy search for his lost pet. I feel like the first thing that has to be brought up while discussing Isle of Dogs is the way it uses language. Wes Anderson's usual style focuses on dry humor, usually delivered through dialogue. By forcing the audience into a position where the majority will not understand part of the dialogue, Wes Anderson gives himself an excuse to rely on visual humor at times. A key example finds a group of Japanese scientists working in a lab. They mess with contraptions way beyond our comprehension, any explanation being lost in translation. In Isle of Dogs, language is a barrier. We want an explanation to know exactly what these devices are doing, but all that really matters is that they're working. There's been some controversy around this film's use of Japanese culture. I don't feel like it's my place to comment on that, but looking at it purely through a narrative standpoint, Wes Anderson seems less concerned with culture and more concerned with the idea of the distance created through language. What matters is that the audience is now expected to fully understand every conversation, instead having to rely on visual cues. Unless you speak Japanese, Isle of Dogs forces you to sympathize more with the dogs. While most people are naturally empathetic towards dogs, Wes Anderson has a history of harming the animal. Just off the top of my head, I can think of at least 4 dogs or cats who are seriously harmed during his films. The fact Wes Anderson isn't afraid of hurting animals is part of what makes his story so compelling. There are moments of terror, in parts because we actually expect Wes Anderson to go through with it. I feel like this film reaches its peak when Atari, the young boy, is left alone with Chief, the stray among a pack of otherwise house pets. Though Atari is rarely given a direct translation, we can fully understand his intents here. What Anderson gets across perfectly here is that while we don't speak the same language, the way we treat dogs is almost universal. Atari feels like the shining beacon of this film, the character most representative of its themes. Words are only one tool for communication. There's passion in his actions. In this way, Isle of Dogs feels like a callback to silent cinema. On a technical and stylistic level, this is exactly what you would expect from a Wes Anderson film. Symmetrical compositions and use of color are on point. The stop-motion animation is gorgeous. The screenplay is likewise familiar. The characters all have their exaggerated quirks. Dialogue is more concerned with wit than realism. These elements are strong, but the film is at its best when it gives room for silence. Or, if not silence, at least moments where the viewer cannot understand the language. In the end, I feel like this might be a bit weaker than Wes Anderson's 3 previous films, but still an excellent addition to his work. It does just enough different to feel fresh while maintaining his usual charm. I think, most importantly, while his other films tend to have emotional distance due to the oddity of its characters, Isle of Dogs actually manages to create resonance through the language barrier. That takes skill. Overall, I think I'd give Isle of Dogs 4.5 stars out of 5.